What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We've got a really solid WNBA slate tonight, and this is the kind of board where you can actually find a few edges if you slow down and look at the matchups the right way. We've got 3 games on deck, and each one has a different kind of betting angle. One game has a big favorite that's been rolling, another has a nice statistical edge on the side and a very playable prop, and the late game is a heavyweight matchup between 2 of the best teams in the league. So let's get right into it. First game on the board, Washington and New York. This is a spot where the Liberty really stand out to me. They've been playing like one of the best teams in the league for weeks now, and the timing of that matters. They started the year a little shaky, but since then they've completely found their rhythm, and right now they're doing exactly what elite teams are supposed to do, winning games and covering numbers. Washington, meanwhile, is in a tough stretch. They're in the middle of a brutal road trip, the offense has been inconsistent, and this is not the kind of matchup where you want to get cute and expect a turnaround against an opponent that already handled you comfortably just a few days ago. That last meeting matters a lot. New York didn't just win that game, they dominated it. They controlled the shooting percentage battle, they were better from deep, and they forced Washington into a lot of bad possessions. That's a bad sign for a Mystics team that already struggles to score efficiently. The biggest issue for Washington is that they don't have a reliable offensive identity right now. They're one of the worst teams in the league from 3, they turn the ball over too much, and they give up too many easy points off those mistakes. Against a Liberty team that can punish mistakes and turn them into quick offense, that's a problem. And then you add in the health situation. Even if Washington gets some bodies back, there's still a real question about how close to full strength those players actually are. If they're limited, that just makes an already tough matchup even harder. So for me, the side is pretty clear here. My best pick is Liberty to cover. Washington really needs a much better offensive night just to stay competitive. The total also makes sense to me on the under. Washington simply doesn't score enough with consistency, and New York already showed it can clamp them down. If this game gets out of hand, that can also put pressure on the clock and keep the total from getting too wild. One player prop that stands out to me is Shakira Austin under points. This is the kind of prop that makes sense because the matchup is just not ideal for her. A lot of her scoring comes inside, and New York has been really solid in those areas. They've done a good job limiting production from the center position, and that's important because that's where Austin usually does a lot of her damage. Even if she's been a little better recently, I still think the matchup points toward a quieter night. When New York is locked in defensively, they make it hard to get comfortable shots in the paint, and that's usually where Austin needs to live in order to get to her number. So if I were looking at a player angle in this game, that's the one I'd circle. Shakira Austin under points. This is a really interesting spot because Toronto has a few edges that I think matter a lot. They take care of the ball better, they create turnovers on defense, and they get to the free throw line at a much better rate than Connecticut. Those are the kinds of hidden advantages that can swing a game even if the raw talent gap doesn't look huge at first glance. Toronto also already beat Connecticut in the first meeting, and that game went to overtime. That tells you the Sun can hang around, but it also tells you Toronto has already shown that it can win this matchup when things get tight. The biggest concern for Connecticut is consistency. They've improved a bit, but I still don't fully trust them to put together a strong 40-minute performance against a team that can pressure the ball, force mistakes, and get easy points at the stripe. That's why my best pick is Toronto here. They're the more complete team, and they have the more reliable statistical profile in the areas that usually decide games like this. The total is also interesting because Toronto's pace can help push this game upward. Connecticut has not been great defensively, and if Toronto gets even a decent offensive night, this number can creep over. So my total pick will be over. The prop that really stands out to me here is Aneesah Morrow over points and rebounds. This one makes sense because she's been producing consistently, and the matchup is very favorable. She's getting a lot of her production from the interior, and Toronto has really struggled in that area on the defensive end. If a player is already showing steady volume and the opposing team has real issues defending her spot on the floor, that's where the value starts to show up. She's been clearing this combo in a lot of recent games, and the numbers line up well enough for me to take a shot. I like props where the role is clear, the matchup is good, and the production path is obvious. This checks all three boxes. So for this one, my prop pick is Aneesah Morrow over points and rebounds. Now to the late game, Minnesota and Golden State. This is the game everybody wants to see if they like high-level basketball. Two of the best teams in the league, two strong defensive groups, and two offenses that can also put up points when they're clicking. This is a true heavyweight matchup. Minnesota has been absolutely elite. They're the kind of team that makes every game feel uncomfortable for the other side because they defend, they rebound, they execute, and they don't beat themselves. That's why they've been so hard to knock off. Golden State, though, has been no joke either. They've been one of the best teams in the league in their own right, and they've already shown they can keep this matchup close. They've also got home court advantage, and that matters in a game like this. What makes this tricky is that Minnesota has the better overall profile, but Golden State has enough quality to make this a very live home dog spot. That's why I'm not rushing to lay a side here. On paper, Minnesota is the stronger team. But from a betting standpoint, I think the number is close enough that I'd rather avoid forcing a call. So the side for me is a pass. I will not risk it. The total, though, is a different story. My best pick is the over. These are two teams that can score efficiently, and even though both can defend, the first meeting showed that they can still push the total into a good scoring range. If the shots are falling and the game stays competitive, this has the kind of flow that can get over the number. That's the board for tonight. We've got a couple of spots that really stand out, a few player props that have enough value to be worth a serious look, and one late game that should be a fun one to watch if you like high-level competition and a tighter matchup between two strong teams. The key tonight is not to get greedy with it. There's no need to force plays just to have action on every game, because that's usually how you end up giving back value. The better approach is to stay disciplined, trust the spots that actually line up, and let the board tell you where the real edges are once the games get going. So keep it smart, keep it selective, and let's see which bets show up in a good way once tip-off starts. Play it smart, don't force anything, and we'll see which spots show up when the games tip off. So that's where I'm landing today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with somebody who's betting these games tonight. It helps the channel a lot, and it lets me keep bringing you these daily picks and breakdowns. And I'll catch you in the next one.